The 13th of October, 2007. I should have left. I should have packed my things and run the moment I realized what was happening. But I didn't. I stayed. And that was my mistake. It was around 3 a.m. when the tapping started. It was soft at first, like the sound of a finger lightly tapping against glass. I could hear it, just barely, over the hum of my computer. The noise was rhythmic, almost like someone was trying to get my attention. I paused, staring at the screen, trying to decide if I was imagining things. The sound came again. Tap, tap, tap. I pulled away from my desk, walking to the window, not sure what I expected to see. The campus was quiet at that hour, the streetlights casting long shadows over the courtyard below. There was no one in sight, no movement, nothing but the cold air and the feeling of being watched. Then it came again, this time, louder. My heart pounded in my chest. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I couldn't see anyone, but I felt them. I felt someone standing there, someone who had been there for a while, just waiting. I stepped back from the window, my breath shaky, and I checked my phone. It was late, way too late for anyone to be walking around, but someone had been at my window, tapping. I didn't know why, but I had a gut feeling that it wasn't a coincidence. I didn't sleep that night, not at all. And the next morning, when I opened the door to leave for class, I found the note. The note was simple, folded neatly in half. My name was written on the front, scrawled in neat handwriting. I'd find these notes for days after, but this first one, it was the worst. I see you walking to class every day. You looked great in your blue jacket today. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not at first. I thought it could just be some weirdo, some prank. But something about it made my stomach twist. It was too specific. How did they know about my blue jacket? I didn't remember anyone seeing me that morning. Not like that. But that's when I should have done something. Instead, I shrugged it off. I tried to convince myself it wasn't serious, that it was just some harmless weirdness. Still, I started changing up my routine, taking different routes to class, keeping my head down more. I didn't like the idea that someone knew where I was going before I even did. It didn't stop. A week later, on a Friday night, it happened again. I was sitting in my dorm room, watching television, trying to relax after a long week of school. My roommate was out, and it was quiet. It was just me, my laptop, and the flickering light from the television screen. That's when I heard it. A knock. Quiet, almost hesitant, but it was unmistakable. The knock didn't come from the door. It came from the window. I froze. The window was on the opposite side of the room, so I had to cross the whole space to get there. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to know who was on the other side, but I had to. Slowly, I walked to the window, my heart pounding. I could see my reflection in the glass, the dim light from the television making me look pale. I pulled the blinds apart just enough to peek through, my hands shaking. Nothing. The courtyard was empty. The night air was still. But then, I saw something out of the corner of my eye, a shadow. It wasn't a person, but it was there, just for a moment, before it moved out of sight. It had been quick, but my stomach twisted, and I felt a jolt of fear rush through me. I stepped back from the window, not sure whether to feel relieved or terrified. And then, the familiar sound of a message pinging on my phone filled the silence. It was from Facebook. "Hey, I saw you walking by the library today. You looked really nice in your jacket. Would you want to grab coffee sometime?" I could feel my pulse quicken as I stared at the screen. I hadn't shared my class schedule or anything like that with anyone. And yet, somehow, this guy knew exactly what I was wearing, where I was. The message was from someone named Alex Harper. I didn't know him, and I had no idea how he knew so much about me. I should have blocked him right then, should have ignored the message and moved on with my life. But instead, I did the opposite. I replied, maybe out of curiosity. Maybe because I wanted to be polite. I don't know. But I replied, "Sure, coffee sounds good. How about tomorrow afternoon?" I met him the next day, just like I said I would. He was waiting at the coffee shop near campus, sitting at the window, his back to me when I walked in. He turned when I approached, smiling. He was wearing a hoodie, casual, like someone who wasn't trying too hard. But something about his smile didn't sit right with me. It was a little too wide, a little too eager. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey," he replied. "I'm Alex. It's good to finally meet you." We made small talk at first, mostly about the weather and school. But as the conversation went on, I noticed something strange. He kept bringing up details I hadn't shared. He mentioned how I'd been walking to class on Tuesday morning, how I'd been talking with a friend in the library a few days ago. He even mentioned that he'd seen me at the student bar a week before. I tried to laugh it off, but inside I was panicking. How did he know all of this? "So," he asked, leaning forward, "how's your day been?" I didn't want to answer. I didn't want to tell him anything. But instead of telling him to leave me alone, I just said, "It's been fine. I've just been trying to catch up on homework." "I saw you studying last night in the library," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "I almost came over, but you were really focused." That was it for me. That was when the feeling of being watched hit me full force. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I think I need to go." Alex looked confused, but not surprised. "Okay, I'll see you around." The next day, I found the note in my mailbox again. "I saw you with your friend. You two looked cute together. I wonder if he knows about us." It wasn't signed, but I knew it was him, Alex. I'd never felt so terrified in my life. A few weeks later, I began to avoid the places I usually went. I started taking different routes to class, staying inside more, even changing my schedule so I wouldn't run into him. But I still couldn't shake the feeling that he was there, watching me. It was a Sunday evening when it finally happened. I was walking back to my dorm after a long day of studying, thinking that maybe I'd finally shaken him off. But then, as I passed the quad, I heard footsteps behind me. I looked back, and there he was, Alex, standing across the courtyard, just staring at me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, they were fixed on me, unblinking. I turned and ran. That night, I moved to a different dorm building. I didn't tell anyone why. I didn't need to. It's been over a decade since that happened. I finished school, moved away, and tried to forget about Alex. But every once in a while, I'll hear a knock on my door. Sometimes it's just the wind, but other times, I swear I hear it again, faintly, like someone's trying to get my attention. I don't know if it was really him all those years ago, or if it's just my mind playing tricks on me. But it wasn't until I moved out of Chicago and started a new life that I began to wonder, was I really being watched? Or had I just gotten paranoid? And what if it wasn't over? What if, even now, he's still following me, waiting for me to slip up, waiting for me to think I'm safe? You see, that's the thing I'll never know. I never found out who Alex Harper truly was, never got the answers I needed. And every time I think about it, a part of me wonders if I'll ever get to the bottom of it, or if he's already one step ahead. Is he still out there, watching me, waiting for me to mess up? I don't know, but I do know this. When the knock comes, I won't answer it, because I've learned something over the years. Suspense? It's best left unanswered, because sometimes the not knowing is the worst part, and some things are better left in the dark. It was a Thursday night, the 10th of October, 2024. Around 11:45 p.m., I had just wrapped up a meeting in a small town in West Virginia, about 45 minutes outside of Charleston. I'd been on the road for a few hours, driving back home after a long day of work. The drive was uneventful at first, just me and the radio, some late-night talk shows, and the low hum of tires on the road. I wasn't too far from home, just getting tired. The weather had started to turn cold, and the fog was rolling in. But that's when things started to feel off. At first, it was just the road. The highway wasn't anything special. A two-lane road with nothing but trees on both sides. It felt like I was in the middle of nowhere, but that wasn't the weird part. The weird part was that there were no other cars, not a single one. I wasn't in a rush or anything, but that's when I started to notice the strange silence outside. The hum of the tires seemed louder now, and the air felt heavy. The only thing that kept me grounded was the red glow of the taillights in front of me, barely visible through the fog. I thought to myself, it's just late. People are probably home by now. Or maybe they took another route. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It wasn't until I passed the exit for the nearest town that things got even weirder. There was a sign right next to the road, faded and hard to read. It was for a gas station up ahead, a place I'd never seen before. I had no choice. My gas was low. I was miles away from any other station, so I figured I'd stop. I took the turn off the highway and drove for another 10 minutes down this narrow road that seemed to go deeper into the woods. The fog was getting thicker. I wasn't nervous, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Why was there such a long stretch of road with nothing on it? Eventually, I saw it, the gas station. It was run down, the kind of place you'd think had been abandoned for years. But the lights were on, and there was a single car parked under the flickering streetlight. I pulled up to the pumps, deciding to just get in and out quickly. I don't know why, but the air felt colder now, like something was watching me. I glanced at the empty lot. No one was around. I got out of the car and started to pump gas. But as I was filling up, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate steps, as if someone was walking right behind me. I froze for a second, my heart racing. I looked over my shoulder. Nothing. I told myself I was just tired. Maybe I was hearing things. But the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I quickly finished pumping the gas, locked the car, and turned toward the door. The moment I reached for the handle, I stopped. There was a man standing by the front door of the gas station. He was just standing there. I couldn't make out his face too well in the dim light. He was tall, wearing a dark jacket and a cap. The weird thing was how still he was. It wasn't like he was waiting for something, he was just staring at me, almost like he was expecting me to come inside. His eyes were hard to see, hidden beneath his cap, but I felt them on me. It was strange. I hadn't seen anyone else around here. No customers, no workers, nothing. Just him. I decided to make a quick exit. But just as I started to walk back to my car, he spoke. His voice was low, almost like he was trying to keep it quiet. "You didn't forget the night, did you?" I stopped dead in my tracks. I didn't understand what he meant by that. Forget the night? What was he talking about? I shook it off, thinking he was just some weird local who liked to make small talk with strangers. I didn't answer him. Instead, I just got in my car, slammed the door shut, and started the engine. That's when the real weirdness began. As I was about to pull out of the station, I glanced in my rearview mirror. The man was still there, standing by the door, watching me leave. His head was tilted slightly, like he was waiting for me to do something. And then, he smiled. A wide, unsettling smile. It was too much. Something about it made my skin crawl. I didn't want to be anywhere near this place anymore. I sped out of there, back onto the highway, heading home. But no matter how fast I went, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me, that someone was out there in the fog, just waiting. I checked my rearview mirror every few minutes, but there was nothing, just empty road and fog. Then, about 5 miles down the road, I saw headlights behind me. Another car, but as I glanced, the headlights were wrong. Too bright, too close. They were coming up fast. I swerved to the side of the road, not wanting to risk a collision. But the car didn't pass me. It slowed down next to me, just a few feet away, and the engine turned off. The headlights went out, plunging me into darkness. I couldn't see the car anymore, but I could feel it. It was like something was sitting right next to me. I sat there frozen, not sure if I should drive away or get out. That's when my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. The message just said, "Look to your left." I didn't want to, but I did it anyway. There, just a few feet away, standing in the middle of the road, was the man from the gas station. He was staring at me again, his hands raised, palms out. He looked calm, almost peaceful, like he was waiting for me to approach him. I wanted to scream, to drive off, to do anything, but I couldn't move. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. Then, as quickly as he appeared, he turned around and walked back into the fog, disappearing completely. I sat there for what felt like forever, too scared to do anything. When I finally got the courage to drive away, I sped off, heart pounding in my chest. I didn't stop for anything. I kept my foot on the gas until I was out of the fog and back on the main road. But as I passed the exit where I had come from, I glanced in my rearview mirror again. There he was, the man, standing by the side of the road, watching me drive by. I don't know what he was, or why he was there, or if I was just losing my mind. I don't know if I'll ever know. But I'll never take that road again. I'll never forget the night, and I'll never forget the way he smiled. Was he just a man, or something else entirely? Something that only appears when you least expect it? And why me? Why that night?